In the last session, we explored a very fundamental question. What is the purpose of life? Rather than relying on answers from books, philosophies, religions, experts, or spiritual teachers, we decided to investigate this question for ourselves. We agreed to follow 3 simple principles: direct experience, questioning everything, and not blindly copying others. So we began with something very simple and very familiar: our daily lives. We asked ourselves why we go to work, why we study, why we earn money, why we seek relationships, why we pursue success, why we seek wisdom, and why we chase so many different goals throughout our lives. As we kept questioning deeper and deeper, a common pattern began to emerge. Behind money, success, relationships, wisdom, and spirituality, we were seeking a certain experience. That experience appeared to be happiness. Perhaps if we want to understand the purpose of life, we must first understand happiness. Because much of our life seems to be organized around the search for happiness in one form or another. As we continued our inquiry, we discovered that happiness may not be a single experience. We explored 3 possible forms: pleasure, happiness, and joy. Pleasure appeared to be more sensory in nature, often arising through physical experiences. While pleasure has an important place in life, relying exclusively on pleasure may lead to dependence, dissatisfaction, or imbalance. Happiness appeared to be more psychological, arising through meaningful relationships, learning, achievement, growth, and fulfillment. Joy appeared to be something deeper and more mysterious, sometimes emerging without any obvious external cause. Since pleasure, happiness, and joy are influenced by our bodily actions, our thoughts, our emotions, our feelings, our habits, our choices, and our intentions, it is necessary to understand them. Understanding these is not separate from understanding ourselves. They are one and the same. And perhaps this is why self-awareness becomes so important. If we do not understand ourselves, how can we understand what truly brings us happiness? How can we discover our own balance between pleasure, happiness, and joy? So in this session, we will begin exploring self-awareness and investigate how we can understand ourselves more deeply through direct observation and inquiry. Why understand ourselves? Before we explore how to understand ourselves, perhaps we should first ask a simple question. Why should we understand ourselves at all? What is the value of self-understanding? Most of us spend a great deal of time learning about the external world. Yet very few of us spend time learning about themselves. We rarely stop and ask, who am I? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? What are my fears, desires, habits, motives, and intentions? How well do I actually know myself? Perhaps one of the greatest benefits of understanding ourselves is that it helps us discover our natural talents, strengths, and interests. Many people spend years trying to become somebody else. They compare themselves with others, imitate successful people, and pursue goals that may not be naturally suited to them. As a result, they often experience frustration, confusion, and inner conflict. But when we begin to understand ourselves, we gradually discover what comes naturally to us, what energizes us, what interests us, and where our strengths lie. This understanding can help us direct our lives more intelligently and make better use of our abilities. Understanding ourselves may also help reduce unnecessary suffering. Life will always contain challenges, difficulties, disappointments, and pain. However, much of our psychological suffering is often amplified by our own fears, expectations, assumptions, reactions, and habits of thinking. When we begin to observe these more clearly, we may discover that some of the suffering we experience is not caused by life itself, but by the way we relate to life. Through understanding comes the possibility of reducing unnecessary conflict within ourselves. Self-understanding can also save a tremendous amount of energy. Think about how much energy is wasted in inner conflict. We want one thing but do another. We make promises to ourselves and then break them. We compare ourselves with others, worry about what people think, and struggle to maintain images about who we should be. All of this consumes energy. When there is greater understanding of ourselves, there is often less confusion, less contradiction, and less conflict. The energy that was previously wasted can then be used more creatively and intelligently. Understanding ourselves can also help us make better decisions. Every choice we make is influenced by our thoughts, emotions, fears, desires, beliefs, habits, and intentions. If we do not understand these influences, how can we know whether our decisions are truly intelligent or merely habitual reactions? The more clearly we understand ourselves, the more clearly we can understand why we make certain choices and whether those choices are actually beneficial for us. Perhaps most importantly, self-understanding allows us to live more authentically. Instead of trying to fit into an image created by society, culture, family, religion, education, or our own imagination, we begin to understand who we actually are. Not who we should be, not who others want us to be, but who we truly are. And perhaps when there is greater self-understanding, there is also a greater possibility of experiencing pleasure, happiness, and joy in a more intelligent and balanced way. What is self-awareness? Now that we have seen the importance of understanding ourselves, the next question naturally arises. What exactly is self-awareness? Self-awareness means being aware of ourselves. It is simply the ability to see what is happening within us. It is the turning of our attention inward or to our inner world. For example, if anger arises, self-awareness is noticing that anger is present. If fear arises, self-awareness is noticing that fear is present. If jealousy appears, self-awareness is noticing jealousy without immediately justifying it or condemning it. If the mind is restless, self-awareness is noticing restlessness. If the mind is peaceful, self-awareness is noticing peace. The emphasis is not on changing the experience. The emphasis is on becoming aware of the experience. This may sound very simple, but if you observe carefully, you may discover that it is not something we do very often. Most of the time, we are completely absorbed in our thoughts, emotions, and reactions. We become angry without realizing we are angry. We become anxious without realizing we are anxious. We follow habits without realizing we are following habits. Self-awareness introduces a small but important shift. Instead of being completely lost in our experiences, we begin to observe them. And perhaps this observation is the beginning of understanding. Because how can we understand something that we never observe? If we wish to understand ourselves, we must first become aware of ourselves. And that is where self-awareness begins. 3 tools of inquiry. If self-awareness means observing ourselves, the next question is, how do we actually do that? What tools do we have for this inquiry? Fortunately, the tools required for understanding ourselves are already available to us. We do not need special equipment, special knowledge, or years of training to begin. We simply need to learn how to use certain capacities that we already possess. For our inquiry, we will use 3 simple tools: awareness, attention, and alertness. These 3 words may sound similar, and in everyday language they are often used interchangeably. However, each points to a slightly different aspect of observation. At this stage, we do not need to understand them deeply. For now, it is enough to become familiar with them and begin noticing their role in our daily lives. The first tool is awareness. Awareness is simply knowing what is happening. Right now, sounds may be reaching your ears. Thoughts may be moving through your mind. Emotions may be present. Your body may be sitting, standing, or walking. Awareness is knowing that something is happening. The second tool is attention. Many things may be happening around us and within us, but we do not always notice them clearly. Attention is what allows us to direct our energy towards something and observe it more carefully. It is the ability to focus on what is happening instead of being completely distracted by everything else. Using attention, we can notice something in the present moment or think some thoughts. When we notice something, thoughts or external events can distract us. Setting the attention only on the target without distraction is called alertness. The third tool is alertness. Most of us spend a large part of our lives functioning automatically. We repeat familiar thoughts, habits, routines, and reactions without realizing it. We may be physically awake, yet psychologically we are often operating on autopilot. Alertness is the quality of being awake and sensitive to what is happening in the present moment. It helps prevent us from drifting into mechanical living. So as we begin this journey of self-understanding, these are the 3 tools we will carry with us. Awareness helps us know what is happening. Attention helps us observe it more clearly by directing our energy. Alertness helps us remain awake to the process. What to watch for self-awareness? Now that we have introduced the tools of inquiry, the next question is, what exactly can we watch for self-awareness? If our goal is to understand ourselves, then we must begin by watching the various parts of ourselves that make up our daily experience. Life itself provides us with endless opportunities for observation. Every day, from the moment we wake up until the moment we go to sleep, we are constantly expressing ourselves through our body, speech, thoughts, feelings, emotions, habits, choices, and intentions. Let us begin with the body. Most of us live through our bodies, yet we rarely watch what the body is actually doing. We walk, eat, sit, work, exercise, drive, and sleep almost automatically. How often are we truly aware of these activities while they are happening? Can we watch ourselves walking? Can we watch ourselves eating? Can we watch the way we sit? Can we watch the way we work? Can we watch the way we move throughout the day? The question is not whether the body is doing these things. The question is, am I aware of what my body is doing? Next, we need to watch our speech. Speech reveals a great deal about us. How do we speak to people? Do we listen carefully or do we interrupt? Do we speak only when necessary or do we speak unnecessarily? Do we gossip? Do we complain frequently? Do we exaggerate? Do we speak differently to different people? Without judging ourselves, can we simply watch the way we speak and communicate with others? Then we need to watch our thoughts. The mind is constantly active. Thoughts come and go throughout the day. What do we think about most often? Are our thoughts mostly about the future? Are they about the past? Are they centered around success, achievement, worry, fear, pleasure, or problems? We do not need to stop our thoughts or change them. We are not trying to control the mind. We are simply learning to watch. What is the mind occupied with most of the time? Along with thoughts, we need to watch our feelings. Throughout the day, various feelings arise within us. Feelings are bodily biological responses such as hunger, pain, pleasure, comfort, energy level, etc. These are natural and need to be handled properly. These feelings often influence our actions and decisions without us even realizing it. Can we begin to notice these feelings as they arise? Can we watch them without immediately reacting to them? Then we need to watch our emotions. Emotions are psychological reactions to external events which are expressed through the body. These often arise from the way we interpret and understand situations. Anger, jealousy, excitement, sadness, happiness, fear, frustration, enthusiasm, and many other emotions appear throughout our lives. Usually, we become completely identified with them. We become angry and immediately react. We become excited and immediately act. We become sad and immediately get absorbed in the sadness. But can we watch emotions as they arise? Can we notice the moment anger appears? Can we notice jealousy when it arises? Can we watch excitement, sadness, or happiness without immediately being carried away by them? Another important area to watch is our habits. Much of our life is governed by habits. The way we use our mobile phone, our eating patterns, our television watching, our use of social media, our tendency to complain, our habit of comparing ourselves with others, all of these are habits. Habits often operate automatically in a fast way. We perform them without conscious awareness. Can we begin to watch these habits as they occur? Not to fight them, not to justify them, simply to understand them. Then we need to watch our choices. Every day we make countless decisions, large and small. We choose what to eat, what to watch, where to spend our time, what to prioritize, and how to respond to situations. Why did I choose this instead of that? Why was one option attractive and another unattractive? What influenced the decision? By watching our choices, we begin to understand ourselves more deeply. Finally, we need to watch our intentions. This may be one of the most important areas of inquiry. Behind every action there is usually an intention. We help someone. Why? We work. Why? We study. Why? We post something online. Why? We say something. Why? Sometimes the action is obvious, but the intention behind it is hidden. As we begin watching our intentions, we may discover motives, desires, fears, expectations, and hopes that we were previously unaware of. So the journey of self-awareness begins with watching. Watching the body. Watching speech. Watching thoughts. Watching feelings. Watching emotions. Watching habits. Watching choices. Watching intentions. How to watch? Many of us may hear the word watch and immediately turn it into another mental activity. We start analyzing, interpreting, comparing, judging, and trying to reach conclusions. But that is not what we mean by watching. Watching is much simpler. The first step is to bring attention to your whole body. Instead of living entirely inside your head or thoughts, Begin by becoming aware of the body. Feel the body as you sit, stand, walk, eat, or work. Let the body become an anchor for attention. This helps bring us into direct contact with what is happening right now rather than what happened yesterday or what may happen tomorrow. The second step is to slow down. Most of us move through life in a hurry. We eat quickly, speak quickly, react quickly, and make decisions quickly. When everything happens too fast, it becomes difficult to watch ourselves clearly. Therefore, while practicing self-awareness, it can be helpful to do things a little more slowly. Walk a little slower, eat a little slower, speak a little slower, listen a little more carefully. Slowing down creates space for observation. Another excellent way to slow down is to watch the incoming and outgoing breath. Watching the breath naturally slows down the body and mind, making observation easier. The third step is to avoid judgment. This is extremely important. The moment we judge ourselves, observation stops. If we see anger and immediately conclude, "I should not be angry," guilt begins. If we notice jealousy and immediately condemn it, we start hiding it from ourselves. Judgment creates resistance. Resistance prevents understanding. Our goal is not to decide whether something is good or bad. Our goal is to see what is actually there. Only when we can see clearly can understanding emerge. The fourth step is to avoid expectations. If we begin watching ourselves with the expectation that we will become calmer, wiser, happier, or more spiritual, then our observation becomes distorted. We start unconsciously acting according to our expectations rather than seeing what is actually happening. Expectations create an image of what we want to be, while self-awareness is concerned with understanding what we are right now. The fifth step is to remain very alert. As soon as we begin watching, the mind often starts interfering. Thoughts appear. Memories arise. Old knowledge comes in. Labels and conclusions are formed. We begin saying things like, "This is anger, this is because of my childhood, this is good, this is bad," or "I already know this." The moment this happens, direct observation is replaced by thinking. Therefore, we must remain alert and watch carefully without becoming lost in thoughts, memories, explanations, or verbal descriptions. The observation should be as direct and immediate as possible. This brings us to perhaps the most important principle of all. Feel more and think less. Most of us have been trained to think about life. Very few of us have been trained to directly experience life. Self-awareness is not primarily an intellectual activity. It is not about collecting theories about ourselves. It is about directly feeling and experiencing what is happening within us in the present moment. Feel the body. Feel the emotions. Feel the energy of a habit. Feel the movement of a reaction. Feel what is actually happening. Thinking has its place. We need it for practical matters. But during observation, excessive thinking often becomes a barrier. The more we think, the less we see. The more we feel and directly experience, the more clearly we understand. So the practice is simple. Bring attention to the body. Slow down by watching your breathing. Avoid judgment. Avoid expectations. Remain alert. Feel more and think less. And then simply watch. Perhaps understanding will begin to emerge naturally. What will happen when you watch? At this point, you may wonder, what happens if I actually practice this? What happens if I begin watching myself consistently? The first thing you may notice is that patterns begin to reveal themselves. Many of our actions, thoughts, emotions, habits, and choices operate repeatedly in our lives. Because we are usually busy reacting, we often fail to notice these patterns. But when we begin watching, they gradually become visible. You may start noticing that certain activities consistently bring pleasure. Certain thoughts may leave you feeling energized, while others leave you feeling drained. Certain habits may contribute to happiness and well-being, while other habits may contribute to stress, conflict, and suffering. You may also begin to see that some relationships nourish you, while others exhaust you. Some ways of thinking bring clarity, while others create confusion. Some actions lead to a deeper sense of happiness, meaning, and joy, while other actions repeatedly lead to frustration, regret, and unnecessary suffering. This understanding does not come from a book. It does not come from a teacher. It does not come from a philosophy. It comes directly from your own observation and experience. As this understanding deepens, something interesting begins to happen. You may find that positive changes occur naturally and effortlessly. Not because you forced yourself. Not because you followed a rule. not because someone told you what to do. Rather, understanding itself begins to guide action. When you clearly see that a particular habit repeatedly creates suffering, the desire to continue that habit may naturally weaken. When you clearly see that certain actions, attitudes, or ways of living bring greater pleasure, happiness, or joy, you may naturally move in that direction. In other words, understanding starts replacing struggle. Instead of constantly fighting with yourself, suppressing yourself, or forcing yourself to change, you begin learning from your own experience. This is one of the reasons self-awareness is so powerful. It helps transform life from a process of blind reaction into a process of intelligent understanding. And perhaps this is only the beginning. Because the more clearly we understand ourselves, the more intelligently we can live, and the greater the possibility of experiencing pleasure, happiness, and joy in a balanced and natural way. For the coming week, try watching one aspect of yourself every day. Perhaps your body, your speech, your thoughts, or your emotions. Don't try to change anything. Simply watch and learn. In our next session, we will explore intelligence and investigate whether intelligence is merely knowledge, memory, and information, or something much deeper.